This is the 2025 Kia EV4 and you join me today at the UK launch of this car to show you around it and take it out on the road and see what it's all about. Now, this is a whole new car in the C segment for Kia and it's designed to compete with other hatchbacks in the realm like the Astra and the Cupra Born and so on. But it has strong rival from its own company. So the Kia EV3 is a fantastic car that comes in slightly cheaper at this, but this promises to be a little bit lower like a normal hatchback, maybe a little bit more sporty and also a little bit better on range, including a fastback model as well, which is a bit like a Tesla Model 3 and Polestar 2 competitor. So if you want something more like a hatchback rather than a crossover or SUV, this might be a good alternative. With suspension that really irons out the bumps and tons of tech inside, this could be a really good option for you. So let's take a full tour of the car. I'll get it out on the road and I'll show you what it's all about. But before we go ahead and do that, if you're looking for a used car, please check us out at Players Cars Premium in the description below. We'll contact you via WhatsApp 24/7, so no waiting around for pesky emails, and really low finance as low as 7.5% APR. So delivery is free to home as well, and Part X is possible. Probably the easiest way to buy a used car. So links below. So then, taking a look around the EV4. Now, there's only 3 trims to choose from, and it makes it super easy to see exactly what sort of spec you're getting on the car, which is really nice. Starts from around £34,500 in the UK, which is not too bad, really, considering some of the competition. So that is for the entry-level Air model, which you can get either with a lower capacity battery, 58.3 kilowatts, with a WLTP range of around 273 miles, or you can get the more expensive version, around £37,000, which is 81.4 kilowatt hour batteries, 388 miles, and the rest of the range has that same battery pack as well with varying WLTP, but between 360 and 380 miles, which is pretty good, especially for this size of car. They all have a single front-wheel drive 201 horsepower electric motor, 7.4 seconds to 62 for the smaller battery one and 7.7 seconds for the larger battery one, being a bit heavier. But they both support rapid charging up to 135 kilowatts, 10 to 80 in around 30 minutes. Kia also provides the 7-year 100,000 mile warranty as standard. Heated seats, heated steering wheel and 17-inch alloys are standard, which is really nice. The 12.3-inch driver's display and 12.3-inch touchscreen navigation system, LED lights front and rear. So the specification is really good, and you get all of the sort of highway assist stuff as standard as well, which is really, really nice. I would definitely say it's worth the £3,000 uplift on price for the larger capacity model. If you step up to about 39 grand, you get the GT line model, which includes sportier styling with gloss black externals, 19-inch alloys, faux leather upholstery, which is nice vegan leather, customizable ambient lighting, wireless phone charging, digital key, including the option to use your Apple Watch. Stepping up to nearly 44,000 is the GT Line S trim that I have here today, which does have a lot of extra stuff as standard. To be fair, there's not really any option boxes to tick. So you get heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, a sunroof, which looks like a pan roof from the outside, but is quite small on the inside, Harman Kardon premium sound, and 360-degree cam, which includes your blind spot cameras for when you do your turn signals, which is really useful. Heat pump is optional though at £900. The fastback models are more expensive, in line with kind of your Tesla pricing, so they start at around £40,000 going up to about 45.5. But yeah, 380 odd mile range in this model is pretty good, and to have all of the spec included as standard makes it easy to buy used as well. Plus with Kia's fantastic warranty, you're pretty much guaranteed that even if you're not buying one of these brand new, you're probably going to be getting a pretty good deal out of it. So let's take a little look round then at the styling of this car. Now, you'll be very familiar with this kind of design language from all of Kia's other EV stuff. So you see at the front here, it's got a very similar kind of light pattern and grille pattern. So we've got these nice big LED running lights which change into the indicators, and then you've also got your front camera there. You've got some ventilation on the front with your radar and some gloss black detailing. And yeah, it's all very familiar from like the EV3, the EV9 and the EV6 that you will have seen before. Quite modern, quite handsome. This one definitely looks a little bit less aggressive potentially than some of its counterparts, but still has a lot of those sharp lines. And you can see on this one we have the larger 19-inch alloys being the GT Line S. And so nice diamond cut finish, and you can see the brakes through there. And then of course your charge port at the front as well. So this is just a push to open, quite convenient, and also has your little charge indicator there as well. Some people don't like having it at the front of the car. I don't really mind it that much. It kind of is what it is. So you've got pop-out handles on the side, and you see it's kind of almost got that EV3 profile, but just lower down. You can see it's got a lower center of gravity to the floor, and that makes the handling a little bit better, but it also makes it a bit nicer for people who just want more of a hatchback rather than a larger SUV. It is still quite a wide car, which makes cargo and passenger space quite good, but you can see this kind of squared off boxy rear definitely makes it quite practical as well for the size of the car. And it's definitely smaller than something like an Ioniq 5. I've got to say, the fastback version, whilst it does have kind of a larger boot capacity, obviously it's more like a Tesla where you load it more like a boot rather than a hatch, so potentially a little bit more impractical, and I think a little bit hard to look at, putting it politely. Not a massive fan of the design of that one, but you can see on here, as we go towards the back of the car, it's just got that boxy rear, so if you're looking for something that's similar to the EV3, this is probably going to be it. It's definitely not as large as the EV6 in terms of the rear cargo area though, which we'll go on to in a little bit, but I'd love to know what you think of this styling. It's very similar to their kind of other cars in the range, but also a little bit different just because it's such a lower down car, and I think that will appeal to a lot of people who kind of don't want to go for that SUV crossover style just yet. So I've just put the rear indicators on here, the hazards on, so that you can see roughly what that looks like as well. I do like the rear light design. It's not quite a light bar, but it definitely looks nice and modern, and you can just tell from the way that this back is squared off that it's a nice practical space. But yeah, looking at it from the side profile again, doesn't it look quite low? It's quite kind of squashed, isn't it? Quite a svelte profile, and means for good aerodynamics and obviously increased range, even better on the slightly fugly fastback model. So then let's head inside. You see that you've got these pop-out handles which motorise out for you. Just pull on those, nice quality feel to everything, and we are greeted with a very, very nice two-tone interior that looks super modern and really nice quality as well. So yeah, looking in here, look at this, it's a nice contrast, and I love the new Kia steering wheels as well. Looking at the door card, we've got some ambient light in there on this model, which is indeed adjustable, and what I really do like actually is on the side you have some physical control. So because there's not many physical climate controls, some of the key ones have been moved to the door, so you've got your heated steering wheel and your heated seat and ventilated seat in this particular model on here, nice and easy to reach when you're driving along, and some nice high quality switches, window switches and mirror controls, all feel very, very nice indeed. Some nice padded vegan leather and some textured materials at the top here which don't feel too scratchy. Even this is kind of like pleather here. Everything feels super nice, and even down the bottom, this is obviously cheap plastic, but it's much better than you'd find in like a Volkswagen or something like that. Harman Kardon grills obviously on this one, and you've got a kind of a narrow space here, but then a nice big opening for your bottles, which is a nice little touch there. And then as you head into the car, we've got a nice door sill, and on this one we have the nice seats with the electric adjustment and electric lumbar. You can see you've got a nice perforation on this one for that ventilation and some contrast, including the top GT line area here, and these lovely, lovely mesh headrests. I love the Kia headrests. These are like, almost feel like an office chair. They've got like a really nice plush feel to them, nice and airy so you don't get too hot, and very adjustable as well. These are one of my favorite headrests in the game. I love them to bits. And a nice open cabin. You can see, look at all this space here for activities, and then you've got this kind of ambient lighting down there. You've got the cool plus and minus on these pedals in the GT line models, and then down here, nice and simple, you've got your parking brake and you've got your traction control and for the rear control as well. So super, super simple design, but the contrast is lovely, and this black headliner I think helps make it look sporty. You can see what I mean there about the sunroof. It's kind of small on the inside, sorry, so when it's open it does look pretty cool from the outside, which is nice. But let's step in then and actually see what this is all about. And of course, being a Kia, it is absolutely rammed with tech, and it's no exception that this is very similar to the larger EV cars, which is no bad thing at all. I love the fact this is all open. It makes the car feel so much more spacious for my legs. Steering wheel is fantastic. It's got just the right level of kind of texture and feel to it. The bolstering's really nice. It's got capacitive sensors in it, so it understands when you're holding it. Physical buttons, including the one-touch driving assist. I love this feature. You press this, the car will start steering itself on the motorway. It works fantastically and flawlessly every time, and at the touch of one button. There's a programmable style button here, which is really nice because you can put that to whatever you want, as well as some controls here for doing bits and bobs on the screens in front of you. And when you press and hold this to mute, what will actually happen is you'll get a notification come up on here to say that the speed limit warning sound is on or off. So you can literally just press and hold that, and it will turn off that annoying bong when you go over the limit. So props to Kia and Hyundai for including that in all of their new cars as well. Everything is nicely damped. You've then got also down here, which you probably can't see too well, your drive select. So it's literally a twist one. So twist forward for drive, back for reverse, and then park, click in the middle, and then your on off switch there as well. So all within easy reach when you're sitting here as well. And then the drive mode select is this button at the bottom of the steering wheel in this spoke, which is pretty cool. When you select that, it will cycle through the different modes on the screen. Most of the time I stick it in normal mode, but sport mode mode will definitely make a difference, which we'll go on to on the driving segment. You've also got paddles on the back of the steering wheel, which are kind of plastic, but they feel okay. And this adjusts your level of regen right the way down to iPedal mode, which is your one pedal drive. So you've got a few levels that you can adjust on the fly and make it feel exactly how you want to without diving into any menus, which is, again, a really nice touch. And some physical climate controls. So you've got temperature toggles here, so up and down, which work really well, your modes, and also you've got a volume knob like a rocker there, which is cool, your hazard switch, so some physical controls there. And this also, if you press it all the way down, it will turn the climate off, which is a great touch as well. And then you've got some capacitive touch buttons along here for some basic controls. Now these are quite hard to see unless they're illuminated at night time. And what I have found as well is when I'm driving along trying to operate this screen, I'm leaning my hand on here for safety, and I end up accidentally pressing these with my palm, which is a little bit frustrating and not something I've experienced in other Kias, but very, very small nitpick, to be honest. And again, yeah, look at this. It just looks fantastic in here. Look at these headrests, the way the leather looks. It just looks great. And also, you've got some sustainable materials. So there's a QR code on there that will take you to talk about those, which is always really cool. And a nice glove box. It's not quite full size, but it's better than what I've seen on lots of rival cars where they just blank a bit out for right-hand drive cars. So they've made some real effort there, which is cool. And then down here we've got USB-C charging, 2 of those, with also a push out 180 watt socket for the 12 volt, which is cool. Down here you've got a wireless charging pad which has an illumination on it, and you can put your key down here as well, but it's a nice grippy pad with loads of space for larger phones, and you can remove this and change it as well. And you've got your pop out cup holders, so you can tuck these away if you want to, and then they go boop to pop out there. And again, a large storage area down there. This is kind of all open and has a grippy rubber padding. Another storage area here, nice armrests. It's not very padded, but it's nice quality. And then another storage area in there. So plenty to go on. And here you've got your hill descent control, your parking stuff, your parking cameras. So when you hit the parking cameras, you can see that we've got the 360 cam on this model, which works super well. I can go into like the 3D view, and you can then see the car and what's around me, which is really nice. And obviously when you're doing top down view, that makes it super easy to park this thing as well. Not that visibility is bad. You do have a massive C-pillar, so you'll see probably if it focuses there, you'll be able to see that there you can't see anything out of the rear quarter at all, but the mirrors are quite large and the car is easy to place, so I wouldn't really be too concerned about that. Plus the cameras make it nice and easy, and the view out the actual back window isn't too bad really. You get a pretty decent view because you end up with like quite a kind of flat rear on the hatch version. Definitely a little bit different on the fastback though, so that's just something to bear in mind. So yeah, pretty top marks from me in terms of ergonomics. I don't really mind the fact that a lot of the stuff is touchscreen, and you also have this kind of hidden touchscreen here with your climate controls on. So there's some stuff that you can access all the time, and you can adjust it from here and turn 3 levels of auto as well, which means you get different velocities. You can also sync it and do your dual climate controls here. This is here all the time on its own screen, which is cool. It is obscured by the steering wheel when you're driving, but really I don't care about that because I've got physical controls. I can see it out the corner of my eye. It's no big deal. And this screen here is the one that you're used to in many Kia and Hyundai products. There is a button on the steering wheel as well that will take you through like the different modes and different things, so you can see how long the car's been driven for. You've got a few different options there, and you can see this is a glossy screen. The effect on camera is worse than it is in real life, to be honest. It's not too bad, but it is glossy, so bear that in mind. But the clarity is great, the definition is great, the contrast is great. Also super useful are the blind spot cameras when you indicate, because they really do help when you're going along on the motorway, especially to make sure that you're checking those blind spots. Their interface is super fluid. They've just started adding apps now like YouTube and that to their Kia connected services, and you get 7 years of that included as part of the package, which is awesome. There's also oh, it's not set up on here, but there's games and stuff as well. Really easy to use system, and there's some nice things as well, like relax mode and car wash mode. So there's a few different things that you can play around with, and also there's a mode for like turning off the rear speakers if you've got kids asleep in the back there. It's not the best interface, I would say, in comparison to some other cars. It's not as tidy as stuff from like, you know, the Chinese manufacturers now, and also like Tesla and so on, BYD. They've got kind of a more fluid system, but I like the way this works, and you're likely going to be using Android Auto or Apple CarPlay most of the time anyway, aren't you? So yeah, pretty impressed with how things are overall in here. The quality is nice, everything feels good, everything looks good, and even the scratchy plastics are really not that bad. So top marks as always to Kia for the cockpit. And heading into the back of the car, things are a pretty similar affair. So you get that nice contrast in the rear in this model, which is really cool, and then your heated seat button. Everything feels very tactile and feels like it's going to last. It's got a nice quality to it, but you can tell it's not real leather, which is a nice thing. You can tell it's nice sustainable materials. As you head in here, we've got a completely flat load floor, which is always good. A little area back here, which is probably going to be used by the kids as a bin, let's be honest, but that's fine. There is no triple zone climate control, but you do have vents, and of course you've got the USB-Cs in the sides of the seat, which I think is a really nice touch because it means that you don't get cables dangling down. You've also got these kind of little hooks on the back of the seat where you could always kind of slot like a bit of shopping bag around there if you wanted to. And obviously these headrests are really super adjustable as well. They look cool from back here. I just think that the cabin looks really nice and spacious. And this is spacious back here, as I'll demonstrate in a moment. Now, as for the rear seat situation, you can just press these buttons here, like pull these levers, and they will pull forward. And unfortunately, the seat belts do snag on the way back up. So that is something to bear in mind. It's not something you can really do as a one-handed operation because you need to pull these seat belts back out to be able to put the seats back up. And also, it does actually mention that on there. It does actually give you a warning to show that you need to move the seat belts out of the way. So at least they're aware of it. It's just annoying that in some other cars, these are on runners to make it super nice and easy. You can, however, to make it a little bit easier, pop the seat belt in this little bit here, and that will keep it sort of out of the way, but it kind of still ends up snagging, having to pull it through. So it's a bit of a last ditch attempt, and I think this will look a bit naff after a while as well, but it is what it is. And the ISOFIX points back here are the ones that squish between the seats, so it probably will damage the leather over time, but at least there's no covers to lose. In the middle here, you get a nice pull down area with some cup holders, and there is no ski hatch, unfortunately, but it is a 60-40 split and a pretty practical load area. So then, hopping into the back of the EV4 with this in my driving position. Now, actually, you'll be pleasantly surprised back here. Now, I don't have masses of headroom, maybe a couple of inches, but it's still sufficient. And legroom, I have tons. You can see, even with this in my driving position at 6 foot with really long gangly legs, I still have loads of room. Now, the floor is quite high in comparison to the seat, so as you can see, there's not an awful lot of thigh support for me, but I could kind of stretch out and get comfortable for a longer journey if I were to cross my legs or something like that. So it's not really a deal breaker. And completely flat floor as well obviously means that for a middle passenger it wouldn't be too bad. And yes, it would be a little bit cramped back here, but it's not the most narrow of cars either, so actually it wouldn't be too bad. And for children back here it will be absolutely fine. So really, with that in mind, with this kind of decent position as well, it's actually quite a nice place to sit and spend some time. If I get this armrest down, I can just kind of sit back here. It's quite reclined as well, so I could probably actually get quite comfy if I were to get the right position. No problems at all. It's a lot better than you might expect. It's very limo-like in terms of that rear space. So yeah, no real complaints really. So let's head into the rear then. So this one does have the electric tailgate, which is always nice. And we head into the back, which actually has quite a flat load area, as you can see. This is pretty useful as a space, and this parcel shelf comes out nice and easily as well. But yeah, not much of a lip to load into here. And we do have some practicalities, like you've got some little hooks on the sides, you've got little wells down there, and same on the other side as well. And this is a false floor, so when you lift this up, you can see there is space under there, and we've got the charging cables and so on under that area. So you could lower that if you needed to, but this is going to be the most practical way of putting the rear seats down. So give it a bit of a tap on the bottom and the whole thing will come away. So nice and easy there. And then we just lean in and push these seats forward. So again, the seat belts will unfortunately snag, but I can just push that forward like that, and I can push that forward like that. So it's easy to do from the rear, and actually you see that this is a pretty large space and quite practical as well because of the way that the boot is shaped. So obviously no tool items at the very back, but it's quite a squared off rear. So similar to sort of the EV3, you'll definitely get a decent amount in there, but it's just not as tall because obviously the car is quite low down. But it's quite long though. I could probably still lay down in here. So, and the fact that it's quite easy to load as well, bit of a bonus. But of course the fastback version will look slightly different. So then without further ado, let's close this thing up. Let's go and see how it actually is on the road to drive. So out in the EV4, just giving it a squirt of power as we join the motorway here. And yeah, it's sufficient. 200-ish horsepower is good for your day to day. It's kind of the sweet spot, I think. And this is a nice serene experience, especially if you've got a bit of music playing in the background. You're really not going to notice any major noise in here, even from the tyres. So quite a nice place to be and spend some time. The first thing I do notice coming from something like an EV3 is it is definitely a little bit more cramped in here, although the big open front half of the cabin that I've already shown you really does impact that. It definitely makes it feel a lot more big and open here, which is nice. and the driving position is actually fantastic for this class of car. Like, it feels like an SUV driving position. I've got my seat up quite high, so you can see that I've not got an awful lot of headroom here, but I could get it a lot lower if that was my preference. And sitting here like this, I've got a place for my elbows. I've got the steering wheel right out and down, so it's in a nice position for me to hold on to. It's just quite comfortable, and having easy reach of things like the heated controls for the seats and the steering wheel there. And yeah, although this isn't angled towards me, it still feels like everything's in a decent place. It's quite soft in this mode, but then if I put it into the sport mode, you do notice that things do firm up just a little bit, which is nice. And then I can have a little bit more fun chucking it into some bends and things. Throttle response in this sportiest mode is definitely a little bit more aggressive, but it's not kind of your Cupra levels of aggressive. So definitely something like a Cupra Born would feel a little bit more sporty in terms of instant throttle response. And the same can be said about the handling, really. This definitely feels a bit softer than the Volkswagen Audi Group offerings. Although it's not as soft and plush as an EV3, it definitely has that quality to it. So for your daily driving, that's probably a really good thing. But if you're expecting this to be leaps and bounds more sporty, then I would probably look elsewhere. Definitely feels like a more inflated hatchback experience, though. It feels like a bigger car than something like a Golf. And the good thing about that is it makes for a nice motorway cruiser. This isn't as tall as an EV3 or an EV6 and so on, but it definitely still has that nice wafty capability to it in this motorway situation. I feel like I could just press the one-touch lane keep assist here, which I love on the Kias and Hyundais. It works exceptionally well. Literally one button, it's now steering itself, and it's got capacitive sensors in the wheel, so I don't need to keep tugging at it every now and then. It will just get on with it. As long as I'm touching it, it knows that contact is there, which is really, really clever. So really, this is probably going to be a cut above a lot of its rivals for your motorway cruising. So if you're thinking of doing that, especially as the range in this is really good as well. I've got quite a tight turn here, so I'm going to come down on the throttle a little bit and throw it in. I can feel a little bit of sort of roll from the body, and these seats aren't the best at keeping me in position, but that's fair enough. That's kind of to be expected. It's definitely not geared towards being a sporty car per se. It's just got slightly better dynamics than something like an EV3, which is geared towards kind of more interior space and more plushness. But yeah, when I stab the throttle, I can definitely feel the car kind of like the nose comes up a little bit and the car wallows around a little bit. So it's not super firm, but again, for your day-to-day, that's fine. I'm loving the clarity of this HUD as well. It's got a bit of augmented reality stuff in there. Oh, you do get a little bit of slip from those wheels when you sort of plant it into a corner. The traction control does kick in and kind of stop it from doing anything silly, but you can get the wheels to spin up a little bit, and it kind of gives it a bit of a feeling of weight, I'll be honest. It's definitely not the most agile feeling when you're pointing the nose in, but it will pull you out of a corner quite nicely, which is good. And in these round town situations, this is where it does feel quite hushed in here and quite refined in comparison to some other cars in this sort of size segment. It's got that kind of SUV quality to it, even though it does definitely feel lower down, which is nice. Of course, one thing it does have over the competition that works really well is the regen braking paddles. So you can adjust that on the fly. So level 0 or level 1 will basically make it so that it feels as though it's a normal car, like it will freewheel when you take off the accelerator and not really do any regen braking for you. And then you can move it all the way down, press and hold it for I-pedal mode, which is your one pedal drive. A lot of electric cars still don't have one pedal drive, and I think it's good that this is optional. But I think it's good that it has it, because I'm super used to it in my Tesla, and I do miss it when I drive some other EVs, because I like being able to use it in traffic and come to a complete stop. It makes a big difference in terms of your driving fatigue. Eco mode completely kills your throttle response, but then if you go into your normal mode, I'd say that's probably what you're going to use the most, to be fair. It's nice that the ADAS systems are still aware of the kind of the lines in the road, but it's not doing too much to tug me around. It's letting me have a little bit of free rein, so it's not as intrusive as systems of the past, which is nice. There's decent amount of braking. It doesn't feel like they're going to suddenly let you down like it does in some cars. It does at least feel like there's a reasonable amount of kind of action when you press that pedal. You can see me lurching forward there. Although the pedal feel isn't brilliant, it still does what you're telling it to do, which is more than can be said for a lot of cars in this sort of category. This is a great bit of road here, and yeah, I feel like I could do with a slightly sharper turn in, but it's not bad at all. Chuck it in here. I've got it in the normal mode at the moment as well, so yeah, see, brakes did get a bit juddery then under really harsh braking, but realistically you're not going to use them in that way very often, so it's nothing to be concerned about. And where I've got it in I-pedal mode, it does brake most of the time for me anyway. I don't really need to stab the pedal that much. I even like the little electric motor noise, it sounds pretty cool. Turning circle is really good as well. Obviously this one with all of the extra cameras and stuff makes a difference, but I'm doing a really tight turn here. I can make this no problem. I'm not even full lock here. So it's going to be super manoeuvrable around town. Does feel quite heavy though, I must say. Apart from that though, it's kind of in a segment of its own. You've got like the Megane E-Tech and a few other cars like that, but the MG4 is also a good alternative. The MG4 is kind of quite a planted car when it comes to driving dynamics, which is nice. But yeah, I think it would be cool if they did an EV4 GT version, because the EV6 GT is kind of everything sporty that you might want, and that's got ballistic power. That's like over 600 horsepower, so it's really excessive. But if they were to do maybe like an EV4 GT with like 300 or 350 horsepower and some slightly firmer suspension, I think that would probably be in favour with a lot more people as well who are a bit more of a driving enthusiast. But that's enough about me rabbiting on about the dynamics of the car, because the practicalities of this car are what you're really interested in driving it as a daily driver, and that's kind of where it really excels. And it's manoeuvrable around town, it's hushed around town, and it's comfortable enough to do a lot of motorways, and having the one-touch driving assist feature makes a huge difference there as well. And on a sort of twisty fun road like this, it holds its own. It's not the most fun I've had, but it certainly isn't bad at all. And I think the trade-off's worth it when you consider the kind of the level of tech on the interior, how nice everything feels, and just how much you get for your money. I guess the sticking point once again is, do you look at a Tesla Model 3, especially if you're looking at the fastback version, because that's kind of its main rival, or the Polestar 2. So there's some alternatives there that are really solid, but the hatch version I think really is a bit of a standout. I think actually the main rival to this car is its baby brother, the EV3, because that has a little bit more space and practicality inside, slightly better ride height and driving position, and doesn't sacrifice too much on the driving and driving dynamics, and it is a little bit cheaper as well. So I think realistically that is the one to have, unless you prefer the looks of this one and the slightly improved driving dynamics. But it's down to preference at the end of the day. Some people will prefer this more hatchback style, and some people will want the fastback for that kind of improved aerodynamics, and not to mention the fact that the range on this car is better than the EV3 as well, so it makes for a better long distance cruiser. I know that sounds like a bit of a cop-out, it sounds like a bit of an inconclusive answer, but what I'm trying to say is it's sportier than an EV3 and feels more compact. So if you're against the kind of the high up SUV thing, then maybe this is the one for you. It's a preference thing at the end of the day, but all of the Kia EV cars are fantastic, and I would say most of them class leaders. So you really can't go wrong with much of that range. It's more about preference, what works for you in terms of size, practicalities and looks. I would say though, if you're looking at the fastback, it's worth looking at the rivals, the Tesla and the Polestar. And if you're looking at the hatch version, then definitely have a little look at the EV3 as well. But really only the Cupra Born comes close, and that is a more sporty dynamic driving experience. It's a bit more harsh, turning's a little bit better, acceleration is more brutal. So if you want something super sporty, then maybe that's worth a look, but it doesn't have the level of tech and refinement that this does. So if that's your bag, then this is the car. So there we go guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much to Kia for inviting me to the UK launch of this car. I expect to see quite a few of these on the road soon, I would have thought. And thank you guys for watching, I really do appreciate it. All your likes, comments, subscriptions go such a long way. And if you're looking for a used car, then check us out at Players Cars Premium in the link below. Apart from that, I'm gonna now head off and enjoy this car a little bit more, get some more beauty shots of it as I'm out in the countryside today. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.